This craft is going to be a thank you to Hannah Church and to John Pershears, who gave me a guest room to stay in for the last week. So we're about to head to this Publix, got my mask and some sanitizer, and I'm ready to go. If you guys need an awesome mask, I recommend you reach out to an artisan who's currently working on some. I know that I got mine from Alan Young, who's a super brilliantly talented costume designer who makes some really fun masks. So I actually am not terribly fond of most charcuterie deli meats, so my board's are always very heavy on the cheeses and the crackers and the fruits. And lucky for me, Hannah keeps a predominantly vegetarian diet, so that's gonna go great for this little surprise for them. They're also currently like at a store doing something sweet. I don't know. So I like to include little caprice moments on my cheese boards because those are like a nice substantial thing. I'm not a chef, and I'm not gonna pretend to be, but just as a little piece of advice, make sure that you curl your fingers as you do it so you can use your fingernails as a guide, and that way you can't accidentally cut anything, right? Because otherwise if you have your hands like this, then you could slit off the tip of your fingers, which I haven't done since I was in high school. I went ahead and got pre-sliced mozzarella because it's just so much easier than trying to slice your own. I have a weakness for live basil, so always just get one of the cheap little like basil plants from Publix. The like greenery in the leaves like really makes everything pop. Sometimes when I have like the end piece like this, I put it as like the bottom so that when everything else layers against it, it all has that nice upward flip. Use that end of the tomato and just put it face down, and it's gonna sort of be like a kickstand like we use for our phones, kinda. When you're layering these, I'll give you another look in a second. Try to put them equidistant apart. Sort of like when you're trying to like make sure that your brush strokes are a certain length away from each other. Try to make it consistent in how much cheese overlaps the tomato and how much tomato peeks over it. And I always save the most perfect slice to be the one on top because it's just the prettiest. So there's a saying, and I don't think I can make it word perfect. It's something along the lines of like we eat with our eyes before we eat with our mouth. So it's just important to make sure that things are like pretty. And in my family's house, it had become my job to sort of set out the antipasto tray, which is basically the charcuterie board's cousin. You want to try to use pops of color when you can. So obviously dealing with lots of cheeses, we're gonna have lots of like whites and cream colors. And then also, I like to use reds and greens as nice pops of color. And then you have those nice like ecru and like neutral colors of like nuts and breads and little like crackers and stuff. So make sure that you're treating those pops of color foods as pops of color brushstrokes. So like keep them like evenly spaced, let them have a sense of like symmetry to them. Just put a little like thought and like place it out on your board and before you make everything finalized. Okay, once you have carefully peeled one of the avocados, just go ahead and take your finger, because you carefully washed your hands ahead of time, and just smooth out all these red parts on the outside. Perfect. Same idea, make sure that when you're cutting it that you are not putting your fingers in danger. This little knuckle should be what touches it, and that way if anything happens, the worst thing that could happen is it could touch your fingernails. You wanna cut your avocado slices lengthwise as thinly as possible. Get about a half or 3/4 of that avocado. Take those slices and fan them out just a little bit. And then take this and we're going to roll it in. And we are left with this perfectly round little avocado rose. Brie is always a fan favorite, so just get like one of those round things of brie and it's literally good as is. You can, if you want, bake your brie or broil it. I don't do that. I just can't be bothered. But I do like to make sure that I pair it with some kind of like tart fruit because it pairs really well with that like brie flavor. And Hannah's favorite are raspberries, and so I thought we could do some raspberries. And then I just like to take my knife and I just make sure that all of my angles are nice and clean. So I'm not cutting any of these raspberries. I'm just using the knife to help strengthen our outlines a little bit. So our Havarti is going to come in a brick, so when we slice it, it'll be little rectangles, but our whole motif is based off of like round and like sharp angles. So we're just going to add our own little bit of touch to the Havarti slices so that they can go along with the rest of our pad. So they should look like this. Okay, so before we add the finishing touches, I thought I might talk us through what we did. So we wanted to counter our pops of colors. We have our red here and there. And then we also wanted to like make sure that we had a nice asymmetry, but like a balance of our whites. So we have our pure whites here, our like off-white ecrus, right? That sort of blend in with the board, and our Havarti and our little onion crackers. I just thought the fact that they were round was really, really cute. And then if you put all of your Havarti pieces in the same direction, it's not too unlike using the same brushstroke. And so it just adds a nice cohesiveness to your plate. Your brain just sort of knows how to process everything as it goes along. It has really good sort of food feng shui, right? So arrange all these in the same order and you can make a little star effect. One in this corner here, and then I even did some standing upright here and there just to tie it in. We have our brightest pops of color of greens here, here, and here. I put a basil leaf on top because I put a basil leaf on just about everything. And then I added some grapes because literally every charcuterie board should have grapes. If it doesn't have grapes, you should ask that person if they're feeling okay, or if they're mad at you for giving you a charcuterie board without grapes. But there's still two more very important steps. I love balsamic vinegar more than I love most people that I know in real life, and I'm not gonna take that down, even though the entire internet has proof of it. Yes. Yes. All the balsamic. I know that in like Italian food, we talk about like making a face. So like after you like put all the pasta in like one giant like bowl for the family to pull out of, like you usually put another like quick little layer of Parmesan and like maybe parsley or something on top just to give it a nice face. So we're gonna take some parsley flakes and just sprinkle them all over our board. And there we have our completed board. There are so many ways to say thank you to people. Food is a personal favorite of mine. Food and pretty things. So if you have someone that's been helping you through some stuff, then I encourage you to go and make a small gift for them. Maybe a small cheese board, or paint a wine glass. We haven't done that in a while. Or anything that you can. It's nice to give. It feels good to know that they know how much you appreciate them. Bye, guys.